This is a video describing how to use the Azure Vertical Scaling repository and deployed resources to turn a whole bunch of app services on or off within a subscription. So the first thing I want to show you is I have a Sitecore 9.1 resource group. Within here, we have 41 resources that were installed. This is a basic Sitecore 9.1 XP scaled. I believe I chose the medium sizing. And just to prove to you that this is the site that's being loaded from that resource group. So we have the CD and the CM. So we're going to try to turn this off and on when we need to. So I'm going to go to the repo and choose this Deploy to Azure button. And it's going to ask me for a few settings. So I'm currently only connected to my pay-as-you-go account. I already have a resource group for various automation tasks, so I'm going to choose that one instead of having it create a new one, but you could have created a new one. And we're going to call this the one-click deploy automation account, and we're going to leave it at East US 2. It's going to tell us what it's going to install, which is an automation account. It's also going to install runbooks and modules, but you'll see that in the next screen. So I'll hit deploy. I'll pause the video while that goes. And I just unpause the video. This process took about 3 to 4 minutes. And as you can see, it created automation account, a few modules, and a few runbooks. And then we can manage our resources. This will bring me right to the Azure portal, but I already have it open. So we're just going to go to that resource group that I chose, automation resource group. We'll refresh this list just to make sure. And now I can see my automation account that we called one-click deploy. So I'll click on that. And the only manual step that you have to do after running that one-click deploy is you have to set a run as account. It's currently not possible to do this with ARM templates, but it only takes a few seconds. Okay, yep, okay, so we're good. And now I'm going to go into the runbooks that it created. Now it automatically adds these tutorial ones. Feel free to delete them. They're not included in the ARM template, but they just get put there no matter what. So you can follow along in the README. You could set up a schedule so that these run at a certain time, but for now we're going to just execute them manually. So I'm going to choose the Scale App Service Plans down because they're currently, my Sitecore instance is up and running. Everything is tiered where I want it to be. Most things are in between S1 and S3. So I'm going to click Start. And in this case, I don't have to give it a resource group name. In that case, it would iterate across all resource groups, but I'm going to choose Sitecore 9.1 because that's specifically what I want to target. So we'll hit OK. It's currently queued. That'll change to running, and then it'll produce output here. So I'll pause the video while this runs. The scale down process just completed. You can see by the timestamp here, it took about 6.5 minutes to complete. During the execution, I was monitoring it. It will output all of this data to show you what it's doing. So the first thing we check is that we are using the proper run as account. On top of that, it starts iterating across resource groups. We passed in a specific one, so it chose Sitecore 9.1. It found 8 app service plans, and we'll look at the CD plan first. So the first thing it did is it identified that CD plan, and then it started to store various metadata that was important. So we have the SKU, which is an S2, the tier, which is standard, and the SKU size, S2. These are important later on when we scale up. It's going to reread these values to properly scale it back. That is with the app service plan. Now within the plan, there can be one or more app services. In the case of the CD, there's only one app service, and it's called CD. It found a setting always on. It also found the setting use 32-bit worker process. These settings are important because going from the standard level, this was an S1 or S2, down to a free, you have to change those values. So what we do is we store those values in variables, and then we change those app services to no longer rely on those settings, and then we'll later change it back. So the next thing I'll show is the variables. So as we can see here, there's a whole bunch of variables that were created as part of this run. We were looking at the CD one, so we have always on, set to true, use 32-bit worker process set to false, and then the various values that were output previously. So at this point, I'll show the Sitecore 9, show the actual resource. So we were on CD app service plan. We'll look at it, and it is indeed set to the free tier. And if we look at our apps within there, we can see it's now using a 32-bit platform. It's no longer set to always on. And in some cases, there's actually a requirement of incoming certificates. In the case of the CD app service, that's not on anyways, but in other ones it is, and that would get switched as well. So the caveat now with Sitecore being in a free tier is it's completely broken. It is very much effectively off. So you can see it can't find DLLs. Even if we solve this, which is this is caused by that 32-bit worker process. If we did turn that back on, then it would be bricked. All of the XConnect connections would be broken because of that client certificate. So there's a way to enable these. All of these, we hover over here. It has to be on a basic plan or higher. So this script converts everything to the free tier. You could alter the script to move everything to a basic tier, and then all of these settings would remain the same. But that's not part of this solution right now. Okay, so now we have it in an off state, so let's pretend this is midnight. We don't really need it, but now we're starting work tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and it needs to turn back on. So again, you would typically do that as part of a schedule, but we're just going to do it manually. Go to the runbooks, scale app service plans up, click start, give it that same resource group, and I'll get ready and I'll pause the video again and resume when it's back. Okay, we're back after it completed. Turning it all back on took about 8.5 minutes. But if we go to the top quick, we'll just look at that CD app service plan real quick. Let's see. So it's converting it back to that S2 that was previously saved. It's iterating across the app services. It found that always on setting. It found the use 32-bit worker setting. I'm not sure exactly why it found this, as it shouldn't have. There's a pretty good potential that I missed that in the previous review. But anyways, we'll continue. So these guys should be up now. I'm going to load them now. There is that occasional 502 error due to an Azure timeout, but we'll see if that happens or not. While that's loading up, I'll show you the Sitecore 9.1 resource group. Click on that CD plan. And it's back to that S2 level that we wanted. We look at the app service, and we're back to 64-bit, always on, and yeah, the incoming cert is not enabled for the CD app service, so I'll check back on that. It's likely just a false positive. I'm going to pause the video while these load. Sitecore takes a while. Okay, so I just waited for everything to load. The CD came up just fine. Refresh again, comes right back up. CM loaded. We can see some interactions, but notice this error. So this is due to that 502 timeout in Azure. If I reload the dashboard, this time it works just fine. So that first request that it made timed out, and the rest of them work just fine. So. But anyways, here we go. We have our site back to normal after being dead for some time. So thank you.